Good evening, fellow tubers. And here we are again, part 2 for our journey through my collection. Still working on Generation 1. And tonight, we're going to talk about all of my Generation 1 Decepticons. We'll go through the Decepticons first. We'll do the Autobots on another time. And we're going to do all of the Decepticons that I own in Generation 1 minus the triple changers and the combiners. That's going to be in their own video. So we're going to talk about that and an addendum that I have for my previous video concerning Megatron. So we'll start with that first. As I was going through my my collection, and I was separating all of my figures into the series and collecting everything together, I found all of the booklets and separated them, put them together with my individual series, and I came across something that I didn't realize I had. I came across the booklet for Megatron. I know I lied. I told you I didn't have it. I have it. I found it in a pile, shoved under a bunch of other booklets. So here it is, the full color booklet for Megatron, with all of the nice photos and pictures before the Transformers got cheap and went to black and white for their instruction booklets. And I noticed something in here. I discovered that there was a mode for Megatron concerning his fusion cannon that I was not aware of. And I'm going to show that to you. I guess I never really paid that much attention to the booklet, but it's interesting. So we're just going to take a quick jaunt back through the Megatron piece. And I have him right here. And I finally got everything together. And this is what Megatron looks like with all of his components. I told you that this was the shoulder stock. And here it is. You can slide right on here. I don't know why this is really giving me... There we go. So here's the shoulder stock piece. And that goes right here on his legs. Scope. Silencer. So when you get the gun together, you have no extra pieces. Here he is in all of his G1 glory. This is a nice piece. You could hang this on a wall. This would make a nice centerpiece. So that's what he's supposed to look like when he has all of his parts in the proper place. Now, the way that the booklet describes the fusion cannon is a little different than I had remembered and a little different than I had showed you. So I'm going to take all the pieces off, and here's all the pieces for his fusion cannon. And this is the way the booklet tells you to do it. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. Here's the base. This piece goes into the base, just like that. This piece, there are little handles on the side that you can flip out, just like this. And this piece just like that. Okay, put that down for a minute. Then you've got the barrel and his fusion cannon, and this slides onto here. Like that. Who'da thunk it? And this piece slides onto the end, like this. And then this little piece, there's a hole here in the top. There's a button right there. And this is how the booklet describes building his fusion cannon, his standing one, with his fusion cannon stuck to the barrel. I always just left it on his arm, but this is the official way that the booklet for Megatron describes building his fusion cannon, the standing one. Now here's the part that I didn't know. Here's the sort of alternate transformation for Megatron that I had never been aware of for all this time, and I might actually just have to reference the book for this particular one, because this one is a little odd. Okay, so let's get Megatron back into his robot mode, and then I'll show you what the booklet says to do. This is a little different than I had seen. Normally, the booklet actually tells you to take his barrel and fold it under him, like that, so that it's facing the front. There are people that take it and fold it up like that. That's the class, like that. For this one, we need the barrel to be facing to the back of Megatron. So we're gonna get this guy back into robot mode, and I'm gonna actually have to, when I put this together, I'm gonna actually have to hold it up. He won't stand on his own. He's too floppy. The figure is, so he just falls over. So now we've got the figure of Megatron that we all know and love right here. And what we want to do is we want to put his barrel facing to the back. Okay? Now this is what we do. So we got the barrel facing to the back. You get the little piece right here, and this little piece slides onto the barrel. You're probably gonna see where this is going. And then you take this piece right here, and then you get the little thing down, and this hole, see the hole in the top of that barrel right there? Put them together. Marry them. And then this piece right here, flop the handles back in so it's nice and flat. This piece goes back here in the end, like that. And then this, his fusion cannon, slides. This is a very cumbersome transformation, by the way. Slides onto the end here. And what you're basically building for Megatron is you're building a shoulder mount. And here is the alternate transformation of Megatron that I had no idea existed. When this figure was probably new and in really good shape, and the joints weren't as loose as it is now. See how floppy that is? This probably would have been badass, but as it is now, he kind of just does that. And it kind of just points down, which isn't very good. But connect that to the back of his barrel, and there he is. He's got a shoulder-mounted blaster. Isn't that fun? And here, in the instruction manual, is a picture. Telescopic laser cannon for Megatron. Yeah, you know, it's neat. It's something to do, something extra. They always love to put extra transformations into these things, make it a little more comical. Okay, so that's all I wanted to show you for that Megatron. Now we're going to get into the new stuff. Put my Megatron pieces right over there. New stuff. The new items. And the first one we're going to start with is one of my favorites. One of my always favorites. A character that was really cool in the show. Also voiced by Frank Welker. Soundwave. And Buzzsaw. I don't know why he wasn't packaged with Laserbeak. Buzzsaw was never in the show. And it's just a repainted version of Laserbeak. But maybe they figured that if they put Laserbeak in with the figure, then the other mini cassettes would be short packed. Rumble and Ravage were sold together. Frenzy and Laserbeak were sold together. And maybe they figured because, you know, Laserbeak would have came with Soundwave, they would have had an odd number. But there he is, Soundwave packaged with Buzzsaw in the States. In Japan, he was packaged with Ravage. And the instruction booklet for my main man, Soundwave. One of the most popular figures from the original series, and one that's continually being remade in various incarnations. And here he is, as that ever iconic 1980s boombox. Right here. Classic Soundwave. And open up the little thing. Poof. And there is Buzzsaw, or whatever cassette you felt like putting in. So here he is. And very simple transformation. In robot and in micro cassette mode, everything sort of fit. Opened up the back, and his batteries actually became his weapons. This was pretty cool. On the new Soundwave figures, the new one that came out for Fall of Cybertron, the new video game, the same deal. His weapons were his batteries, but they detailed them, put the little plus and minus signs on them. It's kind of neat. So, and you could carry this guy around. Remember, we used to carry the boom boxes on our belts. We put the little headphones in. There's an actual, you could put the headphone if you wanted to right here. And you could look cool. Look, they put a little volume knob on this side. And they put the AM, FM dial switch on this side. So you could put this on your belt, put the little headphones on, and walk down the street. People wouldn't even know. Look at that. I'm listening to a plastic radio. Pretty cool. So here we go. I'm going to take Buzzsaw out. And here we go. Take the sides down. These are his legs. Rotate them forward. Flip his die-cast feet down. His arms were in the back. His arms flipped out to the sides. Just like that. And slide his fists out. Flip his head up. And rotate it around. And you have Soundwave. Look at that head mold. Classic. Decepticon logo on his chest. Look, it says play, record, and stop. And so here he is. One of his weapons was his shoulder mount cannon. One of his weapons goes in his fists. And then you took the missiles and put them in like that. And you could launch them. That one doesn't stand very well. But there he is. Just like that. They don't use die-cast anymore. They use all plastic now. Die-cast, that was a nice feature that made them durable. And Buzzsaw. Flip his feet down from the bottom. Pull his wings out to the sides. Flip his head out. And he had, also, you take his weaponry, and he had, and this is exactly the same thing for Laserbeak. Different color. And, you know, when he's standing up, you can actually put him, and he'll stay on his shoulder. And it's really cool. Look at that. So that's what he came with. But people really like the other ones. Rumble. Rumble, the red and black cassette. Pull his arms down. Frenzy was the blue cassette, and he transformed just exactly the same way. And there was Rumble. Just like that. And you would put these on his back. And there was Rumble with his figure, with his guns on his back, doing the robot. My favorite, Ravage. I think Ravage was almost everybody's favorite. Ravage was uber cool for a little figure. Flip his tail out, flip his head out, and there, and then you put his weaponry, which were more missiles. Let's go on the side. And there is Ravage. There's his head. He showed up in a couple of the other ones, the other series, and they made a couple of other figures of him. They never made a figure of the Ravage that showed up in Beast Wars, and I'm very sad about that, because that would have been a cool figure. He talked in that one. First time Ravage talked, other than Frank Welker voiced this guy too. Frank Welker voiced Megatron. Frank Welker voiced Ravage. Frank Welker voiced Soundwave. Voiced a lot of them. And then later on, they kept expanding the micro cassette line. So here's another one from later on. This one is Slugfest. I don't have any weapons for him. But he turned into spread his legs like that. Yeah. He turned into a Tyrannosaurus. Complete with tiny little hands. There he is. They started stretching by this point. And another one they came out with, Slugfest. Did I say Slugfest? Overkill. Here's another one. And this one turned into a Stegosaurus. And here he is in his little Stegosaurus mode. I don't have the weapons for these two figures. It's Slugfest and Overkill. These are the two from later on that were dinosaur themed. The one that I want to get, and the one that's worth a lot of money, aside from Ravage, is Ratbat. Ratbat was my second favorite. This was my first favorite. I think this was a lot of people's, but Ratbat was really cool. And he can go for a decent price. For basically a tiny little figure like this, he can go for a decent price. Get him on the eBays. So that was Soundwave. What should we look at next? We'll look at these three guys. Some of my least favorite. We'll get my least favorite ones out of the way. The Insecticons. They were okay. My opinion, I always thought they were kind of lame. The deluxe Insecticons that they put out later were moderately better. But, you know, not that much. Bombshell. Stag beetle. See, this is why they started going to black and white. All the pictures were in black and white. You know, I'm not a big fan of the Insecticons, but you want to complete your collection, you get them. They're fairly simple. They're fairly easy. There's not a lot to them. They're not that exciting, I don't think. Here's the stag beetle. I mean, I don't think they're particularly that exciting. If you ask me, you didn't, but I'm giving you my opinion, and it's my video, so you're getting it. And here he is in his robot glory. You know why I think I don't like them? They tried so hard to give each of these Insecticons personalities. They gave them tech specs, backgrounds, and all that. They were basically cannon fodder in the show. They made 6 Insecticons, 3 of these, and then a couple of deluxe ones, maybe 7. I think it might have been 4 deluxe ones and these. But I mean, this was cannon fodder in the show. You never knew how many Insecticons they were, and they really didn't have any distinct personalities. They just came in and devoured everything, and that was that. And they weren't very powerful and strong, and they always got their butts whipped. Bombshell. My opinion, not really a bombshell, but there he is. The leader. There was like 1,000 of these in the show. The grasshopper, Kickback, who I always assumed was the leader. I don't even know if there was a distinct leader, but here's Kickback. The grasshopper. Ah, my young grasshopper. Actual grasshopper. And here he is in robot mode. With his gun. Kind of swanky. Out of the 3 of them, I think probably this one is the best looking of the 3. He's actually not too bad, considering all things considered. If you have to pick one to like, and you like Kickback, no one's really gonna say you're a bad person for that, but flip his head around. Turn your head around. Turn your head around and flip his arms around. Here we go. We'll put him into his grasshopper mode. It's not too bad. There he is. Grasshopper mode. I'll always remember him because he was the one that got his head squished in the movie when they were trying to chew their way into Metroplex into Autobot City. He was the one that got his head squished by Hot Rod. Chewing on the bridge, and his head went... So there he is. So he's not bad. He's moderately tolerable. There's his gun. And the last one, the only one I actually had as a kid, the rest of these I purchased later on in life, but the only one that I actually personally owned as a kid was this guy. Shrapnel. The booklet calls him a lamellicorn. I don't really know what a lamellicorn is, but that's what this has him listed as. So he's a lamellicorn. All the things you learned playing with toys and everything. Here he is. Here's your lamellicord. Your lamellicord shrapnel. Maybe it's because he's got the... I always thought he was some kind of beetle, but apparently he's a lamellicord. There he is. And another one who's not too terrible to transform. Alright, put his in, spread his, and there he is. There is Shrapnel in his beastie form. Here we go. Back has, back has not too bad, and rub sides right there. So they're all pretty simple. You know, round out your collection of Transformers, you get your Decepticons. Deluxe ones were bigger. Deluxe ones were more plasticky looking. And don't forget now, these are all Diaclones, right? We talked about that. Hasbro at this point is still running through its stock of Diaclones. Still hasn't completed it yet. First two waves of original Transformers were Diaclones. All right. Now, next on the list. All right. I'll show you this one. This one came from the movie. It's a Sharkticon. His name, well, his name in the movie was Sharkticon, but his name on the toy is Gnaw. So there he is. You see, he's missing it. I got him at a, I got him for I think $20, and that's probably too much. But I bought him at a shop in the mall that sells figures, old toys, and whatnot. He's missing an arm right there, as you can see. That arm is gone. He had two arms. I had to talk the guy down because he's missing an arm. There's his tail and everything, which comes off and becomes his weapon. So this was the only Sharkticon they made. There was multiple Sharkticons in the movie and the third season of Transformers. There was one that kind of looked like an alligator on two legs, and there was a few others. And I was hoping that at some point they would have made other Sharkticons, but apparently they only ever made this one. So that was kind of a slightly disappointing. But I'm sure they had their reasons. I would have liked to have seen a few others. I also would have liked to have seen an action figure based on the Quintessons, but we never got that either. It wouldn't have been a Transformer because they didn't transform, but it still would have been cool to have an egg-like figure that had like 5 heads on it that you could rotate. And here is robot mode for your Sharkticon. And his, you know, he's not bad. He's pretty well detailed. This one's in good shape. There's no sticker wear other than the fact that he's missing an arm. But really, it really only impacts him in shark mode, because you can't really tell when he's in robot mode. But this is a solid figure, decent, good for a collection. Good, it was from the movie, so when they came out, anything that came from the movie because they were new and exciting, people wanted them. One more movie figure. Decepticon. This one is actually pretty cool. Scourge. This was the guy that was made up of all the broken parts from the Transformers. Made from the swag of Transformer garbage, made by Unicron. He was actually made, I believe, from Thundercracker and a bunch of other spare parts. And I believe it was the Decepticons that made Cyclonus. But here he is in his sort of hovery mode. And this isn't bad. There's some sticker wear, as you can see right there on the plates. But I don't have any of the figures. There's some paint chipping and whatnot, but it's not bad. Here's his really faded rub sign, which doesn't react anymore to anything because it's just that faded. So they did a remake of Scourge, and I thought it was really well done. Not that long ago, but this was a good figure. I think between this one and Cyclonus, they were both pretty popular. And I think probably Cyclonus was probably a little more popular than Scourge, but later on they came out with Scourge and Cyclonus. They came out with Headmaster and Target Master versions of him. Both of them. But there he is in his robot mode. Legs are a little wobbly. But that's Scourge. Classic. Look at that. That's that evil Fu Manchu. Classic head mold for him. Following the... there was a trend in the 80s. You want to know who the evil people were in a show or a cartoon? You look for the evil goatee or the evil beard. And look, there's the evil beard of doom. So you could tell by the beard that he was a bad guy. You didn't have to look for the rub sign. He had the beard. So there he is. Not bad. His wings went to the side. His feet right here. Pretty, pretty decent figure. I think I picked him up at that same shop in the mall for a little bit more than I spent on my Sharkticon, but I like him. Got to get my hands on the Cyclonus. Okay, so now a few more to show you from the Decepticons. I'm going to show you this guy. Now, don't judge him. He's very sad looking. He's very broken, which is unfortunate because he's almost as popular as Megatron. This is my broken Soundwave. Look at his headpiece is missing right here. God knows what happened to it. His arm busted off. He's missing his battery pack cover. Battery cover on the back there. This dude's in rough shape. But I think I got him on eBay, and I'm not even sure. I think this was one of my eBay ripoffs. I was bidding on a Shockwave, which looked nothing like the photo. And I think this is what I wound up getting. But here he is. Interesting factoid about Shockwave. And some of you may actually remember this because I know that I do. Shockwave was not a Diaclone. Remember I told you that everything from the first two waves were Diaclone or Microman? Well, Shockwave wasn't. Shockwave was made by a company called Toyco. T-O-Y-C-O. And it's believed that Shockwave was the only figure, the only toy that Toyco ever made. And funny thing happened was Hasbro got the rights to build this toy and release it as part of its Transformers line. But before that could happen, Toyco, I don't know if they sold it to another person or it was a bootleg, but before Hasbro could put this figure out, about a year before they could put this figure out, this figure showed up on the market. Where, you ask? Radio Shack. Some of you may remember a gray Shockwave. Looks like this, except he was all gray, and his eye, instead of being purple, was red. And he was a light gray. And it was identical, and it was sold in Radio Shacks. most fans commonly refer to this version of him as Shockwave. The Toy Co. name for this figure, was Astro Magnum. So when Toy Co. put this figure out, they called it Astro Magnum. I don't know what Radio Shack called it. I know fans call it Shockwave. Sort of a funny little play on that. But I remember going into Radio Shacks and seeing the gray version of this. So if you ever come across this in your travels, in your flea market meanderings, and you and it's gray and it doesn't have the symbols or anything on it, you probably got the Radio Shack version, because that came out about a full year before this one came out. So let me see here. This figure is sad, very sad, very, very sad. But here he was in his gun mode, and there was the sleeve that went over his hand and fists, and his trigger, you can see it, was right here. And you know, you put the batteries in, you pull the trigger, he would make noise, these would light up and everything. Has a little switch on the back to turn them on and off. So here he is in gun mode. The only figure in the series to not get an Earth mode. He remained in his Cybertronian mode. So, Astro Magnum, Shockwave, and what we have, Shockwave. And I need to get my hands on a better version of this guy. Alright, now the favorites. Here I go. And I'm only going to show you one of them transformed because they're all identical. And I think I know you know where I'm going with this. Starscream. Thundercracker. The blue guy. Thrust. And Dirge. I don't have the booklet for Skywarp, although I do have it. So I have 5 of the 6 Seeker Jets. The only one I'm missing is... Actually, the only one I'm missing is... Ramjet. The white one. There he is. Starscream. All of the Seeker Jets, they all transformed the same way. Starscream, complete, really good shape. I got this I got some of these. I got all the Jets in one big lot, and that was the score. There was Starscream, Thundercracker. Oops. I keep his Thundercracker with his wings and everything. Right there. The only one of the Jets that I own that is not complete is this guy, Skywarp. He's missing a lot of pieces. This is actually mine from when I was a kid. But you see he's missing his fists because his fists would come off. His missiles. I'm missing one of his tail fins from the back. He's in kind of rough shape, but you know, there's Skywarp. And then we got Thrust. All right, there. And then we've got Dirge. And you'll notice that these look a little different. It's because the first wave of Seeker Jets. And Hasbro doesn't call them that. That's a name given to them by the fans, Seeker Jets. Transformed like this, with the nose cone pushed to the back. Like that. The last 3 sets of Seeker Jets transform like that. If you watch on the show, they look like that with their nose cones up. So these are actually have been dubbed cone heads by the fans because their heads remained cone shaped. And they all transform the same way. They're all identical. We're going to do this guy because he's the easiest and he has the least pieces that come off. Take his missiles off. Take his fists off. Take his wings off. I take everything off and get him down to the bare necessities here. Swing all of this through the middle like that. His arms folded in. All snaps into place. Everything flips up. And then his wings go back on him. Just like that. And the missiles go under his wings. And like I said, they all transform the same way. They repainted a bunch of them and changed their wings and everything. But there we go. These are some of the coolest Transformers. These are some of my favorites, the Jets. I've always loved the Seeker Jets. And here they are. In jet mode. Starscream in particular, because he was the best of the lot. So there they are. All the Seeker Jets. And the only thing that you should have left is the fists. That's all that's left. And I have one last G1 Decepticon to show you. And I'm not sure what his name is. I'll have to research it. But he's lame. And for a while, they started putting out lame things. He's one of 3 Firecons. Remember, they made 3 and 3. Firecons and Sparkbots. And the idea was that this little flint on the bottom, see here? You would do that, and sparks were supposed to have shot out of his mouth. I'm not really sure what he's supposed to be other than lame. But there he is. And he has just about an even lamer robot mode. Like, it's really sad. Really, really sad. Told you it was sad. There he is. I'll have to find out what his name is. He was so lame that I didn't even bother to look for his name. But that's him. In all of his bizarre glory. And this is when I think some of the Transformers they started I don't know what Hasbro was thinking at the time. These weren't Diaclones. This one wasn't a Diaclone. This one was Hasbro. It's all Hasbro's doing. They can't blame anything. They made that. Okay, that's all I've got for tonight. Those are all of my Decepticons. Generation 1 Decepticons. We're going to talk about Autobots next time. All my Generation 1 Autobots. So, until then, have a nice night.